All right. What are we at now, man? I think
Eight,
it's month seven, month
seven,
eight,
yeah,
seven,
seven or eight.
7 or 8, one of the two. Another month gone. Feels like been doing this for about 20 years by now, but
As is the
um,
Grays is showing.
true. And the length of hair, apparently. Yeah, you had a POV drop at first for the new business.
Look, we're
Obviously,
trying to get better at that personal branding,
yes.
and so
Big facts, big facts. And about a space that's probably not spoken about a lot in general marketing. I think outside of the LinkedIn environment, um, you know, finding space to market B2B products effectively is pretty challenging.
yeah,
We've done it, successfully with a great client team in our previous roles, but from the success of that program, we know that there's like plenty of opportunity in the space. So great to see you kind of jumping ahead and trying to be the first person over the hill to say, there's work to be done there, but there's definitely opportunity there.
definitely.
Did you want to kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah, look, the idea came from when we first started Cam, two-pronged really. One was the fact that we were a small business and we know the affiliate space, so naturally we placed our consumer knowledge and lens over what would be in terms of business setup for Cam to see if there was anything that we could kind of leverage and utilize. And there was no partnerships in play. There was nothing in market that offered consumers an incentive. In those case, consumers would be business owners' incentive to go with a particular provider on a particular thing. So we had our first look at the market then inadvertently, and then we kind of just through various prospecting early on in the business, we actually took the idea to a partner of ours to say there's a massive opportunity here for
Yeah,
especially an offering that they had. Um, and they'd kind of mentioned that it was something they'd looked at, but um, the feedback from that and being the other side of the court, if you like, for us was enough for me to kind of look into it a little bit more, and even just doing top line research into the kind of space, understanding the size of the audience. Like we all know the B2B space is massive, but I'd never really quantified in my mind how big I thought that was. But when you've got sort of 2.5 million people that own small to medium sized businesses in Australia,
yeah,
you overlay that with like a normal subsector demographic. Like in the POV, I mentioned students, but you can take most others.
mm,
It's bigger than it's bigger than
yeah,
that.
yeah,
You're talking to people that hopefully in most cases for these businesses are relatively cash rich, decent income, but also are very focused on the bottom line, making
mm,
savings where they can, all of that. So it just felt like there's this dearth of opportunity in a space that actually has almost like one of the perfect consumers in it.
yeah,
The challenge for that being is the nature of the buying in the B2B space, which again, I won't give too much around the POV, but kind of goes into acknowledging that the nature of these offerings in a lot of instances make it difficult for affiliates to play in
yeah,
and relies on patience from brands that they don't need to necessarily portray and have in the consumer space. So you've got this push and pull challenge of affiliates don't want to invest in it because the nature of the sales cycle is so much more convoluted. It
yeah,
requires offline to online tracking in most
yeah,
instances. There's
yeah,
a lag of that. And then you've got brands that, want instantaneous success. That is the kind of definition of why they use the affiliate space traditionally. And
yeah.
in some cases, there's a bit of give and take to be had. So yeah, that's probably waffling on a little bit in terms of the
No,
overall position of the POV. But
yeah,
I would encourage anyone that wants to understand maybe what they need to do from a publisher and from a brand side to get more out of the space to have a read, because it does talk to both parties.
yeah,
Um, but overall, it feels like there's a really big opportunity not being missed, but being maybe slightly undervalued on both
mm,
sides. And
yeah,
there's a big demographic that at the moment aren't really being marketed to, which is makes for a compelling case.
for sure. Yeah, very, very well put. We can look back, hopefully, in the not too distant future, and yeah, look at that opinion piece as potentially the catalyst for some awesome B2B work and like establishment and management of programs. So well done, man. Our first cab off the rank. And obviously more to come on that front very soon.
Sure, for sure.
Cool. Well, yeah, why don't we kind of run through a few things that we've learnt this month in particular? You got anything in mind on your end?
Trying to remain on the positive side of things. I think you made a good point the other day. It's you're not going to get the organic traction that maybe we were getting when we first launched, and a lot of that is due to seasonal period, which we probably discussed in the January reflection as well. But I think one thing that does give me a lot of heart and a lot of solace, if you like, is that we turn up every day with the same attitude and the same approach to the work we're doing, regardless of whether we feel like there's not much on or when there's loads on. And having the faith and the confidence to know that we do offer a value and we offer a service that, you know, can create a lot of value for the brands that we work with. Knowing that the rubber will hit the road eventually is good with me. And the main thing is consistency and making sure that we're doing our bit, which we are, and that's given me a lot of comfort in the last, especially December and January when it was seasonally very, very quiet. Still finding things of value to do. Like the POV, like the stuff we've done internally in terms of our kind of website and stuff, and then broadly speaking the stuff that we've done externally with clients and partners as well. The fact that we've maintained our momentum even when it hasn't been organic has given me a lot of comfort. So positive thing would definitely be that, as well as normality starting to resume as well, I would say. But what about you, man?
Very, very good point. This is a funny one. It's probably two in one, but you know, we almost take pride in like living, you know, in with modest means while we're kind of in this period of our business, and you know, even outside of that. But you know, we were talking to our accountant about, okay, you know, what if we, from like a tax perspective, you know, what if we got part-time jobs or like, you know, casual jobs while we were kind of helping working on the business. And he'd said, you know, he kind of advised against it, and he kind of said, you know, it's amazing what you're capable of when you don't know where your next meal is coming from. And, you know, I think I remember that in that moment, I thought, you know, he probably doesn't want us to get a job so that like it makes the taxes for, you know, our company and our individual situations more complicated. But I also thought to myself, I'm probably going to remember that like when we're going through it, and when we're in the process of kind of building the business. And I've been thinking about it a lot, because we've been blessed, like, you know, even though, you know, we aren't millionaires by any means, and you know, we're still on a journey to kind of build our client book and you know, get to the place that we eventually want to be. Even when it feels like we've exhausted every possible kind of, you know, we've done every task, every admin task we've done, you know, the accounts are up to date, the website's refreshed, we've analyzed our pitching process, we've made, you know, we've done market research and made 1-pagers for brands, we've opened up every pipeline, you know, that we possibly can. We still find something new to do. We still find a stone to unturn. And I think, you know, we've talked about mental availability a lot, and just like when you have one focus, you know, it really does even subconsciously, you're still mulling over the business when you're out of the business, which, it can consume you, but it's also a really positive thing. How many times do we come in the morning to do our plan for the day, and you say, oh, I was walking Barney and I thought of this, or I'll say, oh, I was in the shower and I thought of this. And I think, yes, it obviously can consume, it can be a negative thing, but keeping the business the sole focus of our lives, I think is really paying off. And it's just, I think it's helping us, you know it's helping us think so broadly
Mm.
and be so resourceful in a way that I don't think I've ever been professionally. You know what I mean? Like, I think
Yeah.
it's a odd feeling to never feel like the bucket's empty. You know what I mean? To always feel like you can reach in and you can. We've never said this is something that we can't fix. This is something that we can't do. It's always like, this is a problem. We're gonna figure it out.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
which is, I don't know. I think it's a pretty unique feeling. And who knows? We can come back next month and
yeah.
think, you know, that's not the case. But yeah, at this stage, I think that's been it's proved to be quite an insightful thing that he said. Um, the other point I was going to make is we have now come to terms with also not pushing too hard, because I think we've been of the mindset. This is just the way that we work. It's just we've always kind of been on the mindset like you put the foot to the floor and you go as hard as you can. And I think that now we're starting to realize that, like, not that it's been to our detriment, but there's also got to be some give and take. Like,
Yeah.
you really don't want to, and you've covered this as well in other kind of episodes of our reflections. But yeah, just being mindful of the people that we're talking to, the situations that they're in, you know, um, not expecting anything from anyone, and knowing when to get the hands off the keyboard and go,
Yeah.
okay, let's move on to the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The other one for me is we've had a few conversations, sort of initial conversations with brands and clients that have been really honest. So not so much in the last couple of weeks, but definitely sort of later in Jan and stuff, kind of brands that we'd fostered, surface level relationships with and had initial conversations with, providing the kind of honest view of their business, where they're at, what their focus areas are, and giving us that transparency has been really powerful, because again, it kind of feeds into that point around knowing what to do, when to do it, and how much you should push when not to. So yeah, a couple of instances where brands have peeled the curtain back a little bit on what their focus areas are short term, and then ultimately what role we can play potentially in a longer term perspective is really helpful in knowing where you stand, and
Yeah.
that's been really refreshing for, yeah, like I say, clients and people that work at these brands to be able to have an honest conversation about where they see us fitting in and potentially, and not just either dismissing the opportunity altogether, or equally just in some cases not kind of having a conversation so far and then getting nothing after the fact. So that's been really nice and really refreshing to have as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
which has been good.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's so much better to have, at least I'm keen to hear your point of view on this, but I really like when we have discussions with clients or potential clients that um, are measured. They take their time thinking through things. They're very communicative about, the things that they have on their plate and where this stacks up in their kind of priorities list. And inevitably, those turn into long-term relationships, and opportunities. So, if it's something that isn't going to get across the line in the short term, the client's communicative about that. And, they will either say, hey, reach out at this point because we might actually need your services, or they'll say long term, it's probably not a play for us, you know, go on to the next thing, which is great for us. There's a definitive kind of next step there. Whereas, you know, the conversations that go fast are awesome very quickly, then turn into, you know, complete silence, or getting kind of frozen out. Those are the ones that keep you up. You know what I mean? Those are the ones that you think about when you're walking the dog, or, you know, doing, you know, you're out in your personal life. So yeah, yeah, there's a lot of power in like both parties being transparent. And, you know, we like to operate like, you know, if there's something that we can do, we'll be very, you know, adamant about it. But equally, we're happy to, you know, be honest with people and say, you know, this is not an opportunity for us. We can direct you in kind of a you know, or we can give you a point of view on things, you know, just because you've reached out, you know, but we're not just trying to kind of win business for the sake of winning business. So, I like that.
Cool.
Cool, man. All right. What are we thinking about? What's the month ahead looking like, man? What are you trying to remember or focus on for March?
In terms of remembering focus, is much of the same. I think the things I'm excited for is we've got a lot of conversations happening in the next couple of weeks or so, which look really, really good. Also getting back out in market more externally, but face to face this time with a panel next week, which I'm really excited to be on, and hopefully offer a different angle to the overall narrative too, because affiliates is generally an afterthought and an out of scope option, and not necessarily at the forefront of broader digital people's minds. So I'm excited to kind of get out in market and see some people. And then just I'm quite excited to see where a couple of partnership opportunities we're working with some I guess say friends of ours in the market will go in the next couple of weeks. We had a lot of support with that kind of work stream, so I'm keen to see what it uncovers, and it's great to work in partnership with someone. That's really cool. So yeah, man, it's more about kind of looking forward to, I think March is going to be quite a month of traction and a month of conversations. So I'm looking forward to that, man, for sure. But what about you?
Yeah, no, we were looking at the diary for the next few weeks earlier this morning, and it's good to see it full with meetings and, you know, pitches and stuff like that. So yeah,
Sure.
definitely starting to speed up for the year, which is exciting. It's not very insightful to say, or like it's not earth shattering to say, but I definitely am excited about landing our first big fish. Like, I think I think I signed off the other day by saying, you know, I don't know what we're working towards, but we're definitely working, you know,
Yeah.
and something's coming, you know. So I think you can genuinely feel when, you know, you've got really good momentum. And the cool thing about what's happening right now is this is all stuff that we're generating ourselves. It's not because the market's kind of pushing us in that direction, or, you know, we talk about how much support we get from our network and how great people have been, but I really do feel like we've nailed, you know, what we want this to be and what our, you know, daily operations look like in order to get, you know, take steps up that mountain. So, you know, I'm a realist, but I really do feel like something awesome's coming around the corner. And, you know, to be honest, like, as is the case, as we're finding in a small business, it's peaks and valleys, and, you know, you can feel on top of the world one day and, you know, not so great the next. And, you know, I've even had moments like that this month, but I think the I'm enjoying the journey a lot, you know, and I feel like we are, like, I'm never losing the sight of the fact that it's just focus on the next step forward, not, you know, don't worry about what's going to happen, you know, down the line. Just take a step forward every day. And yeah, I really feel like we're building towards something exciting. So it's more a general thought, but yeah, just keen to keep progressing through the year and keep taking those steps. So,
It's good, man. Bring it on.
Hell yeah. You got anything else to kind of round out this one, or?
Not from me, bro. That's all good on my end. You?
Nah, I'm good, man. We'll call that a reflection, man. Yeah. Close the shop.
Wait, no, they don't do that. They cut and they cut.
All right, cool.
Let's start.